Hi everyone, good evening. We'll just give it 2 more minutes for people to join in. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm audible, visible. Please give me a thumbs up or just put a yes in the chat so that I know that I'm audible and there's no disruption in my network. Cool. Thank you so much. So, welcome to Thai Dubai, and I'm immensely grateful to host today's session. My name is Pratibha Leo. So, I work as the head of programs at Thai Dubai. And this month, with the Dubai summer, we have framed this as the AI month. So you'll be seeing a lot of sessions on AI. So for today, we have a very special guest who's going to be covering on AI and how it creates value, where the money flows, what businesses and leaders need to watch. So make sure that you have a bottle of water next to you and also take tons of notes because as an attendee, I can promise you that this is going to be an amazing session. So, for all the first timers who have joined Thai Dubai for the very first time, let me give a small intro about us. So, we've been here for almost 24 years and we focus on five foundational programs, namely mentoring, networking, education, funding, and incubation. And Thai Dubai is the only Middle East chapter which is based in Dubai Internet City. You can see three QR codes right now, one for Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I urge all of you all to pick up your phones and please scan the QR codes so that you can stay connected with us. And you'll obviously be the first ones to know in case we are having further events as well. So I'll give you 20 seconds of time to, not 20 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of time for you all to scan the QR code. Okay. And with that, can you also please scan this QR code so that you can stay online on our WhatsApp community? So in case of any events, any new updates, you can be notified by me. So I'll be telling you in case if there is anything new and you can book your seats in advance. Alrighty. So I'm seeing a lot of people joining our community right away. Thank you so much. All right. And with that, we have another event which is coming up in 22nd of July, and this is going to be an in-person event. And this is again an event on AI, but more with products. So please scan the QR code because this is going to be another amazing event which we are doing in collaboration with Product Tank Dubai. So with all the Dubai summer heat, we are not slowing down and we have, a lot of events coming in. So we hope to welcome you all for our next in-person session. Thank you so much. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's guest, Mr. Ziad Matar, who's the co-founder of Tokenando, managing partner of Mediterranean. Ziad, it's a pleasure for us to welcome you again to Thai Dubai. You have delivered a lot of sessions, and I am so much, excited to see what are you going to do for this session. And I would hand over this to you. So all the very best.
Thank you, Pratibha. And let me first start by welcoming everybody that's joining us from all over the world, as I can see, this afternoon, this morning, this evening, depending on where you are. Thanks a lot for putting time into this, and I promise you're going to be putting some effort as well. I also, take the opportunity to thank the whole of the Thai Dubai family. It is indeed part of my extended family and an organization that I have been with for so many years now, and I'm always happy to contribute in one way or the other. I'm gonna put on my slides, but I guess Pratibha, you want to start first with a quick poll, and then we
Yes.
can proceed with the presentation. So the first question, it is, what is the main thing you want to walk out with today? And that's probably the most difficult question. Then we're gonna talk and ask you if you know what is the T in GPT. And a very easy question. How many R's are there in strawberry? So if you're done, Pratibha, I'll proceed.
Yes.
So thank you again for putting now your answers. We are gonna answer some of them in the coming slides, answer some of these questions. But to start with, why are we here today? And what happened actually that led me to creating this presentation? A couple of months ago, a little bit more, I was talking on a call with a business partner in Dubai, and we were talking about integrating an AI into their workflow. At the time, I was a user of AI, but not really a knowledgeable person. I had familiarity, but no real experience. And funny enough, my son was listening to the conversation, and he said that a couple of kids in my school, they are in high school here in Barcelona, are actually founding a company that does some AI solutions. Perhaps they can help with this. And I said, look, we have our tech team, but I'm happy to see how they would solve it, give them some feedback. So please give them the problem, and let's see how they can create a solution for it. And indeed, a few days later, the gentleman in question, young 15-year-old boy, came to our house, and we sat and we discussed the problem and the way they're going to solve it. And then a question kind of popped into my mind, and was like, okay, I do understand that we are going to have to put some cost to develop this piece of software initially, but I also assume that we are going to have to pay something in recurrent fees. I don't know what it is. I don't know how much is it. Can you tell me? Is it going to be expensive? And he said, no, it won't be expensive. And I said, how come? He said, well, I'm not going to use the latest GPT-5. I'm going to use an older version because I don't need all the capabilities of the new one. And I said, oh, and what does that mean? He said, it means it's cheaper. And already I had like two revelations in a small conversation from a young kid. Look, there are different tiers of AI models, and actually they have different pricing. And that's something I never even had thought of asking before. Funny enough, same weekend, I'm listening to a podcast by the CEO of NVIDIA. He was the guest of Lex Friedman. and they were talking about how the AI industry is evolving. And Mr. Wang, which is the CEO of NVIDIA, said, listen, we will supply chips to all these AI companies. They are going to put them in data centers, they will put power in, and then they will generate tokens. So, in simple terms, we are enabling token factories. And there will be all kinds of tokens in the future. There will be premium tokens, there will be budget tokens, there will be fast tokens, there will be performance tokens. So it's going to create a whole token economy. So in the span of that, weekend, I heard the same story from a young kid and from the CEO of one of the most valuable companies around the world. And I realized that having worked 30 years in technology, I was not even aware of this one day before. So that's how the idea of this presentation came up. I just need to take a small break. Pratibha, I'm getting a lot of messages from people who are unable to join. If you can check.
Yeah, I'll check.
Okay. Very good. So without further ado, we're going to talk about three things today. The token, which is, the name of the company as well, and the name of the economy that's developing. And that's very important to differentiate that from the idea of tokenization and tokens that we saw in the blockchain with NFT and others. This is an AI token. Okay, and we're going to define it and tell you why it is so important in today's AI landscape. We're going to talk about the cost of AI and how it is linked to the token. And we're going to do a little bit of a mapping of the overall industry of AI so that you understand who are the key players and what roles they play with respect to each other. What we're not going to do today is teach you about AI, talk about what model is better than a different model in terms of capabilities. We're not going to be doing prompt engineering or talking about particular tools. But gladly, it is AI month in Thai Dubai. They have been running AI events for the past few weeks and for the next few weeks, and you're gonna, be able to learn all of that as well in the other events. So please stay tuned and make sure you register. So now let me go back to your poll, and then there was a question in it: how many R's in strawberry? And obviously, the answer is easy and simple. But what's surprising is a few years ago, when ChatGPT was still a young product, let's say, it would get the answer wrong. And it was very confident about it. ChatGPT was extremely sure that there are only 2 R's in strawberry. No matter how many times you asked it, if you asked it to spell it out, etc., it would insist it's just 2 R's in strawberry. It made the news at the time. Now this is resolved because we have generations of AI software, but also because they used other techniques to resolve it. But what is the reason that ChatGPT could only see 2 R's in strawberry? Well, it's very simple. When we read a letter as humans, when you read a word, we can see each and every letter. So it's very easy for us to count the R's in strawberry and say there are 3 R's in strawberry. What AI does see is actually not the full word. It will break it down. It will break it down into small sequences. And sometimes it's the whole word, sometimes the sequences of words, but in fact, not even the sequence. It will see numbers only. And these numbers are the tokens. So AI will never see the word strawberry. In fact, in that case, it will see 302.168.19772. And it has no way to guessing how many R's are in these numbers. So what happens is we need to look at how AI works, and that's a whole session of 1 or 2 hours. But in the beginning, before anything works in an LLM, like ChatGPT or Claude, what you need to do is a tokenization process. And that means putting all the data that's available and written in the word and trying to extract from it a compressed dictionary, so that then that dictionary can be used for doing the different things that we can do today with AI. And you will say, okay, why don't we just put a whole word as a token, And the reason there is that it's going to be a lot of tokens. We have hundreds of thousands of words in the dictionary. And by the way, that does not solve the problem at all. That means every word will be a number, and it will not be able to see the figures within the letters within that word. Also, that means words will not be related to each other. And more importantly, typos might not be noticed. New words cannot be part of the dictionary again. The other extreme, which is much simpler, if you think about it, is why don't we use every letter as a token? So S is a token, T is a token, R. That means we only have 100 tokens. Life is easy. But again, that means we have created a very good spelling AI, but that's all it can do. It can just spell. It knows what letter comes after which letter. So that's why we go for the middle ground, which is the tokenization process that ends up with around 200,000 tokens plus or minus per model. And that is before even the model becomes intelligent, just how we teach the model to speak, let's say, the dictionary. So, and to make it a bit more tangible, why does it matter that we have these tokens? It's because if you look at the token that represents the word run, it could be a number as well. It will be a number. Now you can easily relate it to the word running, because running and run will still share the first token, which is the same. And then the second token, which will represent the ning, will be another number. And the way these tokens are split is using a lot of statistics and several runs to see what are the most repeated kind of sections of words and put them into tokens. That's why you see ning is probably an ending that repeats in many times. So it has become its own token. It takes another dimension, actually, because what computers do well is math, right? So eventually, the whole exercise is an exercise in mathematical extrapolation. And just to give you an idea, if you think of the word king, okay, what an AI model will be doing to the word king in order to put it in a different context is pure math. For instance, it can remove the man from king and add the woman, which makes it a queen. So it's a very simplified way of seeing it. This was the old days, very classic way of AI. Now things have evolved a lot, but it gives you an idea of what's happening, behind this machine that we are talking about. Now, why is it relevant as well to us is because the same content sometimes compresses differently. If we say how many R's are in strawberry, we saw there's going to be 7 tokens. And that's really optimized because most of the information that is fed into the AI at the beginning is coming in English, because that's most of what's available online, on the web. But also that's because the models are created mostly in the US or in English-speaking countries. So if you say the same word sentence in Spanish, ¿cuántas are in strawberry? In this case, it will read that in 8 tokens because the training is different, and sometimes the number of tokens will be different because of the inefficiency of a different language, not of the language itself, of the database that was served on it. In Arabic, it will be more, for instance. In Chinese and Korean, it will be more than 8 tokens. In fact, and this is something very important, if you put code and you formulate how many R's in strawberry in a line of code, it's actually going to consume 16 tokens. So just keep that in mind. Tok is more tokens than just plain English. Okay. Why is it important then again to do the tokens? As we said, it's because the computer will see them, and the AI, when we ask it how many R's are in strawberry, the first thing it's going to do is going to read every token in one go, and then it is going to predict what is the next token that comes after that. So in this case, the first thing it's going to do is how many R's in ST, row, berry, and question mark. And based on the training that the AI has done before it is released, it's going to say, oh, when you see a question that ends with a question mark and has this how many in it, the next sequence will be the token that's actually for the word there. And then it's going to do the same thing again. It's going to say, how many R's in strawberry? Fair. And then it's going to predict that the next token most likely will be the one that represents R, and so on and so forth. So each step of the model actually reads the whole context that comes before it and just produces one token. That token, it goes back into the model and the whole sentence is read again, and then the next token after that is produced. And that's very important actually to know. In addition to what we're gonna talk about later, is just to say that really at this stage, there is no thinking of intelligence in how AI works. It is just predicting the next number. And that prediction is based on everything we have fed this AI before we released it, which is right now the sum of the human knowledge. So that's why it looks like it's thinking, but in fact, it is just predicting a number. Why is this number important? Because when it comes to AI, this represents the way AI is being built today. So the same way that we consume electricity and we are built by kilowatt hours, artificial intelligence is built by tokens. Okay, it is the measure of output of AI. And it's true that when we are at home, we might look at the cost of an appliance based on how much electricity consumption it might have. We might think of changing light bulbs now to LED because they consume less. It's quite similar when it comes to tokens and AI models, but at the same time, at home, AI bill will not be dramatically different in general. It goes up a little bit in the summer, goes differently in the winter, etc. Where it really matters is if you have a factory or a hotel. There you really look at your electricity consumption. And that's why this presentation is, addressing you as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as investors, etc. Because in the new age where we are using AI to build companies or to improve what our companies do, consumption is going to be quite similar to how electricity is being consumed and will have the same importance to it. This is the first section, our first act, which was token. And now we're going to jump again into a one question poll and continue. Please go ahead. So how much does AI cost to run? While you answer this, two small housekeeping notes at the end. Hopefully, we will have time for Q&A. So your questions, note them down. We'll discuss them at the end. And also, if we have time, there's a small quiz to see how much we have learned and, maybe open your mind to some new questions for the future. All right, so we'll proceed. And what's happening nowadays is, in a lot of cases, we get this message on our computers where we are using AI. Usage limit has reached, resets in a couple of hours, click here to get more usage. It is not a glitch. It is actually how the meter works. We are already being meters, even if we are using ChatGPT or Claude for free or in a paid subscription model. And at the end of the day, there is no free ride. So where is this meter? How does it bill us and who sees it? That's the first question we're going to answer in this section. So the meter is in our day-to-day AI chat clients. In this case, the billing is usually freemium, meaning we can use them for free. But I suspect many of you are already paying the monthly subscription to get a Pro or a Max membership. And in this case, it's a fixed fee per month, together with these limitations on the rates that you need to refresh or wait or reset them when you reach them. So you don't actually see the meter itself in this case. In a second level, you might be using AI-enabled products. Some people are developing websites with Lovable or using 11 Labs for creating voiceovers. You might be, if you're playing with Duolingo, learning a new language, or if you're listening to music with Spotify, or even ordering a cab with Uber or Careem, you are using AI indirectly because these companies are using it in their software. In this case, you still don't see the bill because you are paying whatever those products are charging you, and they are pricing it into your license. So the price matters here as well. You don't see it directly, but if AI gets more expensive for them, you're gonna pay more, and vice versa. And last but not least, where you see it really on a day-to-day basis is if you are actually using the AI API from Anthropic or from OpenAI, where you're directly actually buying capacity that is being invoiced to you in tokens. So here, the invoicing happens in millions of tokens, and you, as the developer or the business owner, you can see them, you can see how they are identified, and you get that invoice at the end of the month. This comes, with different segments, as I learned from this kid a few months ago. It has different dimensions, and then also various vendors providing it. So at the top of the range in AI, you have the frontier models. These are like Claude Fable 5, which was released last month. And in this case, it's priced into two dimensions. There is the input number of tokens and the output number of tokens. So every input token is actually priced in the million, and every million input tokens will cost you $10, and every million output tokens will cost $60. The reason there's a difference in price, obviously, is because the real hard work is in generating the output of the tokens, whereas your input is something that you have done. But in the input, all the material that you put in is calculated. So your text, your attachment, whether it's a Word document, a PDF, an image, a video, everything goes into the input. And similarly, everything that the model gives you back is the output. So we have frontier models, we have what we call production models. This is something like Claude Opus 4.8 or the latest GPT 5.6 Sol. And you can see the pricing here is almost half the price of the frontier models, $5 per million input tokens and 25 per million output. Obviously, you can see there's a plus on these numbers because there are also different tiers within what they are offering. And there are priority tokens, as we said, there are different kinds of tokens. Everyday use, something like Claude Sonnet 5 would be at around $3 and $15 for input and output per million. Again, we're going almost by half compared to the previous tier. You have fast and quick models like Haiku from Claude, and that's even cheaper, less than 0.5% or a third of the price of Sonnet 5. And then, you have value kind of models, like really the budget level, which are mostly right now being provided by Chinese open source vendors. Okay? So as you see, different dimensions, different vendors, and different things. All of these are questions you should ask, when you're picking the model or when your team is picking a model, etc. Now, the question that you are going to ask me is like, who on earth would use 1 million tokens and why? Well, we are actually using a lot of tokens. I don't want to talk about the token maxing trend where employees were competing among each other in companies to see who spent more tokens. But this is a very cool number I saw in a presentation by the CEO of Qualcomm last month in Computex in Taiwan. He said, in the year 2026, every 10 seconds, 31.7 billion tokens are being used all over the world. That's right now, in the time it took me to say the sentence, 31.7. By 2030, we expect this to be 1.27 trillion every 10 seconds. That's a 40-time increase in the number of tokens being used. Okay? So what does it mean in practice? I'm going to take an example, just a very simple example. Assuming we're doing an airline customer care chatbot, Emirates Airline, I will use it for their service, and it will have around 10,000 conversations per day. People will go in, check something about their flight, ask for a change or for information about their rates. We expect every conversation, let's say, to have around 8 go and forth. So simple estimation, rule of thumb, we're going to say this will take 40,000 input tokens per conversation, because Emirates will load into it all their policies, the details of the flight, the flights that are happening, the network, the timetable, everything. And maybe we'll give the user who's asking on the other side, the customer, around 2,000 tokens of output, because these kinds of discussions are quite straightforward. So it's a light output kind of situation. Over a year, that means 146 billion tokens of input and 7 of output. So in total, around 150 plus billion of tokens. What does that mean? How would the bill of that particular application impact Emirates Airlines, and what would it look like in the different models? If we used Claude Fable 5 for this throughout the year, it would cost $1.8 million for running that particular use case. And then the price drops all the way to $22,000 if you just use DeepSeek. So this is almost 500 times cheaper, just as an idea. Okay, so big difference. It doesn't mean that we should never use the latest models. It means it depends on the use case that we have. We need to pick the right model for the right task and distribute that. And there are tools out there that do this. Open Router is a big one. There are others that allow developers to pick the right model for the right task and route the prompts accordingly. Now, if we look a little bit more, I said there are multiple dimensions in this. So just to give you an idea, Claude Sonnet 5 released a couple of weeks ago. And it does look like it's half the price of Claude Opus 4.8. In fact, right now, until the end of August, it's even cheaper. It will be priced at $2 and $10. So it's really very, very cost effective, relatively affordable. However, you will be surprised that actually running Sonnet 5 on the same task might actually turn out more expensive than a production model like for Opus 4.8. First of all, there is something right now that you can select whenever you're using your chatbot, which is the effort. So if you run the chatbot at around 15% more effort, at maximum effort, it will cost around 15% more per completed task. It will consume more tokens for that. The other thing that's very important is reasoning. So we have seen that models are doing reasoning more and more lately. So that means that the model is actually doing steps behind the scenes before giving you the answer. And every time it does that, it will consume around 3 times more the number of tokens. And finally, going back to the first segment actually of the presentation, tokenization. Because the tokenization produces that dictionary, every few model generations, they do a new tokenization exercise to try to optimize. And in fact, the tokenizer that is used in Sonnet 5 and Opus 4.8 and others is actually 30% more rich in output tokens than before. It doesn't mean that it's worse. That's a smarter model. At the end of the day, it might take less time, less runs, less attempts to reach what you want to reach. But overall, it's generating 30% more tokens every attempt. So these are different dimensions that affect what you are paying at the end of the month. It is not just the price, it is the number of tokens. And that number of tokens sometimes can differ between one model and the other. Then there is the context window. Maybe you've heard about it. We'll glance over it quickly. This is how much kind of memory the same chat can take in. What's very important here is it really affects the cost. If you put an attachment or a big database or a big image in the start of the conversation, the second time you ask the question, the third time, the fourth time you are interacting, it's going to load everything that was in that conversation from the start. So it's not only just the first sentence, it's the first sentence of the first chat and the first attachment of the first chat. Everything has to go in. So that actually gets also fills in the context window and also costs you tokens. There is latency when it comes to that. It takes more time to read more text. Every time it's going to compound. So that's why it gets slower and slower. And there will be quality issues. I mean, these are all being addressed, but the way AI works today through the LLM model and the GPT kind of story is that it works on attention, and at the end of the day, it does not give the same focus to the full history that you have loaded in it. So it will give a lot more attention to the beginning and to the end, and stuff in the middle might get lost. There are ways around that, but you should know that the longer the document, it's going to read the first few pages at the end and at the end as well, and that's it. It might glance over the middle. So these are things to keep in mind as well. Then comes the agents. Agents are a very interesting, also new trend starting the beginning of this year. And what is an agent is giving the model the independence to go achieve a certain task and try to do it to the best possible way by going through a loop and giving it tools that it can use while doing this. So the agent will receive a goal from you as a user, book me a flight or rebook my flight. It will decide what are the best options. It will evaluate them. It will add these options to the questions. It will get feedback, and then it will send it back again to the model. And this loop will repeat until you get your flight rebooked. What happened in between, you are not really involved. The model will do everything. The agent will do everything on your own. And you can provide the agent with the tools to do that. So it can search the web, it can search document, your calendar, databases. It can take actions. It can create code if it needs to. It can talk to other systems through APIs. It can even talk to other agents. So agents are very interesting. They are the future of where AI is going, but they have also an impact on your costs. Almost 10 times more cost. But because what happens? Oops. Oh, yeah. The agent will pull your booking, search for alternative flights, check your fare rules, search, maybe not find the result, reformulate, search again, find you a seat on another carrier, rebook you, and then send you a notification that it has done. And every time it does each of these steps, it's loading everything it has learned along the way into it. So the cost actually ends up being huge. So in comparison with trying to actively research the matter yourself and getting the result that you need, but you're putting your effort into it as a user together with the AI, that would be around 6 cents as an exercise. Letting the agent do this will cost you 10 times more, around 60 cents. And obviously, on one case, this is peanuts, it doesn't matter. But if you are Emirates Airlines and this agent sits into your customer care chatbot, the numbers then become really big. So again, history is read on every step. Every tool output is loaded again in the context of the agent. And if it's reasoning, if it's thinking, if it's using a thinking model, it compounds. So that's something to keep in mind. So tell me, Ziad, what do I do now? How do we deal with this? There are 6 levers that you can use to keep in mind. Ask yourself the questions. Am I routing to the right model? And this is really the biggest right now difference that you can make. Also, as a secondary lever here, can you host your own model, which means you download and you configure an open source, open weight model, and then you run it on your own or on rented. And then you can also use the tools that are available from Ericsson and Qualcomm. So these are 6 levers that you can use to keep in mind. capacity. Compressing the prompt, shorter prompts are better. If you make it 30% lower, it will have an impact. Same, limiting the output. Sometimes it's okay to tell the AI to produce only a certain number of answers and not develop a 100-page slide for anything. More technically, prompt caching, when certain prompts are running, that are similar, it's AI models, Frontier Labs will give special pricing on that, so you can cache the prompt and it will cost less. And also asynchronous batching, which means things that don't have to be in real time, things that can run overnight. These are possibly going to be charged at almost half the price by the open models. So overall, just to give you an idea of that evolution, we started AI with the first generation. It used to consume around 10,000 tokens for a single kind of conversation or answer. When reasoning came into the mix, that multiplied almost by 10. And with agentic, we see another 10. So we expect every big multi-step agentic task to consume around 1 million tokens per run. Numbers are big, but they're going to get even bigger. So according to Qualcomm, by 2030, I don't know what is the unit of this number. We're going to call it 4 gazillion tokens roughly will be consumed. That's the current estimate. So we'll keep an eye on that. And before we jump to the next section, I will ask Batiba to run our final poll. How come DeepSeek is not free, although it is free? Okay. So now we're going to go to the next section, which is the map. Who are the players? How do they fit within the end-to-end story? And where are you? Well, we are at the interface. As humans, we interface with AI today, whether we do it through the general chatbot models that we see, or as I mentioned before, we might be using other tools that use the AI the AI frontier models and then provide us their service. So that's layer one of the map. Then comes the models. So the models are what we've been talking about so far. We have OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google leading in that space. We have also companies like Meta, like Mistral in France, like XAI, which is now part of SpaceX, who have their own also model and they're developing them. And then we have also models that are coming from China, the weight open source model like Qwen and DeepSeek. Well, that's second layer of that equation. And this is actually, a big investment that is being done to release a model. So for a frontier model to be developed, before you even manage to ask them a first prompt, it takes 3 months, sometimes up to 6 months to do the training, which we said starts with the tokenization, but then goes through a process of iteration after iteration to fix and make it more accurate and ensure that this prediction of the next token gets better and better. That would cost around $100 million per training run, which is usually not sufficient to release a model. So multiple training runs are needed because there are errors, there are improvements that are done, there is research. So according to CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, it costs around $1 billion to release a model before you even get to use it as a user. Okay, so big investment is going there, which is also why we're saying nothing is free. We have to pay for it one way or the other. Next level, the model has to live somewhere. And for the model, what we need is cloud, we need AI data centers. The big players in that space are Google, Amazon, Microsoft with Azure. There are also Oracle, SpaceX is in now as well into this picture. And even new players, and some of them in the region, like Humane in Saudi Arabia, G42 here in the UAE. All of these are what we call the AI data cloud providers. They are the hyperscalers, different terms for them. Now, it's very interesting. Lots of investment is required there. And there are bottlenecks in it. But just to give you an idea, the level of money allocated just by the four big hyperscalers, so Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta, for 2026 is $725 billion to build AI data centers. This is the equivalent of spending the whole UK defense budget every 5 weeks. That's how big this number is. And they cannot get enough of what they have, because you need to build the data centers, you need electricity, you need manpower, you need cooling. Multiple supply elements are also kind of affected by this, to the extent that Google right now rents the capacity from SpaceX at $920 million per month, and Anthropic pays on top of that another $1.25 billion every month to SpaceX to be able to use their AI data center called Colossus in Memphis, Tennessee. So this gives you an idea of the situation there. And why are we seeing this? This need for a lot of capacity is because there's a lot of demand from each and every one of us as individual users, as businesses, and you also the token consumption numbers that we talked about. And that's because AI is different as a technology. It did not require new devices. It did not require new network distribution for us to reach it. It reached us from day one and very quickly. Whereas if you look at something like 5G, or you go back in time and you look at Wi-Fi or the internet before, it used to take years before a technology reaches such a large scale. We used to say that for the technology to get mainstream adoption and hit economies of scale, we need 50 million users around the world. And that used to take around 7 years. By comparison, ChatGPT launched in November 2022, and in 2 months, in January 2023, it already had 100 million users. So 2 months for 100 million versus 7 years for 50 before. Even if you look at TikTok and Instagram, they took 6 months to 1 year to reach that 100 million milestone. So the adoption has been exponential. The capacity is not keeping up. The production is struggling now to keep up, but it gets even more tight as we go down. You need the chips. And right now, most AI chips come from one company, NVIDIA. Okay? They produce the GPUs, and the GPUs have been a very crucial element in enabling AI, both on the training side and then what happens after that. Other companies are coming into the mix. Intel and AMD, as you are familiar with, and we'll talk about why they are getting more and more involved in AI. And then, you have even newer names. Broadcom obviously is big in data center, and companies like Cerebras who are creating these giant chips over one wafer per chip. The reason is that in addition to the GPUs, we always need a CPU. And in generative AI, you need roughly, for every 4 to 8 GPUs, one CPU in the data center was enough to get it to do the job. With agentic, you need more control. So in fact, you're going to need more CPUs now. So for every 4 to 8 GPUs, you're going to need 4 to 8 CPUs. This came as a great tailwind for Intel. And you can see it in their stock price. A few weeks ago, they reached $140, which was 600% increase over 12 months earlier. They are now down a little bit closer to 100, but there's a lot of variation there. But just you can see that they are 400% to 600% up just because of the requirement in CPUs that is adding to the requirement in GPUs that made NVIDIA one of the most valuable companies in the world. And that is not enough. They need memory. And all the memory comes from 3 companies only. All the memory in the world for AI and for everything else comes from 3 companies, SK Hynix, Micron, and Samsung. No other company produce memory. And these companies are under so much stress now to deploy and produce those chipsets that everybody will need, that it is affecting the whole electronics markets. To start with, just to give you an idea, their combined valuation today is $4 trillion. That's the 3 companies that you don't really think about normally when it comes to AI. They are valued at $4 trillion. The price of DRAM, which is used for AI, in the first quarter of this year nearly doubled, increased by 98%. And this quarter that just ended is expected to have risen by another 60% in price. This caught even the masters of supply chain by surprise. Companies like Apple, who are known to have the best contracts for supply, were forced to announce a few weeks ago that they will increase the price of all their devices by anywhere between $100 for the iPhones all the way up to $300 per device for the laptops and the computers, because they cannot get the memory at the prices they used to get it before. So now in this case, you can see that AI is affecting beyond AI. Microsoft raised the price of the Xbox as well. So it's spreading everywhere. And then the AI chips, whether they are memory or GPUs, they have to be manufactured somewhere. And the company that manufactures almost every AI chip on the world is one only, and it's called TSMC. It is in Taiwan. And that company basically today is not able to supply to everyone that is asking it. So it is building new plants to do that. On average, a normal sized AI chipset plant will cost around $20 billion, $20 to $30 billion. The TSMC is building 3 or 4 as we're talking. One of them in Arizona will cost $165 billion. And today I just saw the news that they have committed to invest in the US another $250 to $300 billion in manufacturing plants. But each plant takes 3 to 5 years to go live. It's not a very quick process. So whatever they're building today will be live in 2027 in Taiwan, second half of 2027 in Arizona, and then 2028 in Japan. So the demand for AI chips is going to be still constrained for the next year or 2 at least. But what happens in a factory? You have machines. And now we're going to talk about the largest company you probably never heard of. It's a company called ASML in the Netherlands. And ASML is a very interesting company. It produces the machinery that TSMC will use to then create the chips that it gives to NVIDIA. And if you've heard about Moore's law, you know, the number of transistors will double every year at the same cost. Already, to give you an idea, on one NVIDIA system, the 2025 Blackwell, you have 130 trillion transistors. That's in one machine. And the next generation of that is called Rubin. It will release in 2027, and it will have 10 times more transistors, 1.3 trillion transistors. Now, to fit these trillions into the machine, you have to do things at a very, very small scale. Okay, the circuits have wires between them that will shrink down to 8 nanometers between the cables. So give you an idea about how much is 8 nanometer. If you take one hair and you look at the width of one hair, you can fit in it 10,000 8 nanometer lines, just the width of one hair. Now, to do that, you need very special machinery. And the latest machinery uses a technology called enhanced UV, which is light that doesn't exist on Earth naturally. You can get it from the sun, but you have to be there, which is impossible. So ASML in the Netherlands produces the machines that can create this light by shooting lasers over small droplets of tin. Long story. But just to give you an idea, on the opposite side of the scale, these machines, each machine is the size of one London, bus, the double deckers, and needs another 3 to 4 buses around it to keep it working. It takes 7 cargo planes to deliver one of these machines to the end recipient, because it's so sensitive. It has to be disassembled, packaged in very special crates and sent over these 7 planes, and they can only produce 60 machines in 2026 compared to 48 machines they produced last year. Knowing that one new fab, like the ones that TSMC is building, requires at least 40 machines. So you can imagine how much pressure there is on this one company that is at the bottom of the map. So that's actually what you have seen today. The map is multi-layered. We have 7 layers. At the bottom, it gets very narrow. Everything depends on a few companies, and more of that is being in demand. So just to give you an idea that it will not get released anytime soon. And this brings us to the end of the session. As you see, we talked about the token, we talked about the costs, and we talked about the map. And now, if we have some time, we'll play a little game. Or if we have questions, we can answer them and then play the game. Pratibha, CCB, what should I do?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Pratibha, you want to take the questions, or I can take it?
Yeah. So there are 2
So-
questions right now, Ziad. So it's coming in.
Yes.
So
Okay.
let me ask you the
I
first
can see
question.
them. No, I can see them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
In the meantime, we can ask everybody to click on to scan the QR code and see. Yeah.
Okay.
When you ask the model to reply in a short, concise form, does that reduce the output tokens consumed? Yes, absolutely. Sumit, we mentioned it before. You can, whether you're asking directly or prompting in the API, actually limit the answer and ask the model to be less verbose. But also, as you notice, maybe even sometimes the model actually does incite you to ask more questions. So it never closes the topic. So that's part of it. How can AI benefit from quantum machines? I think this is another 6-day course. Definitely, it's something that is seen as the direction, because with the technology that we have today, this has been actually in design for almost 10 years, since the transformer, which was the answer of the first question, was created. Is now it's time to see new technologies come in and help take us to the next level, and it's a big chance that quantum will be part of that technology. Do we have more questions? Another interesting, Qatar supplies 35%
There's
of
quite
the
a bit
helium.
coming in
Yeah.
on chat in
On
terms
chat,
of.
I can see. Yeah, I'm gonna try to scroll from the beginning.
There was one earlier from Sanya. Zia, today when I'm putting a reference visuals, sample set into Claude to generate, how are the
Yes.
tokens going to be calculated?
Yeah, I mean, we gave the example of text because it's easier to explain, but it's the same, Sanya. It's the bigger, the richer the document, the more it's gonna take. In terms of tokens, it was interesting. A small parenthesis. A couple of weeks ago, somebody realized that if you put the text actually as an image and send it to the model to read it from the image at a certain time, Fable 5 from Claude was actually using less tokens to do that, or considering the tokens cheaper. But that's a gimmick, but overall, the bigger the input, the bigger the bill, and the same for the output. Energy aspects from Yassine. Is blockchain two-layer share reducing costs help AI agents as a connectivity asset required to pay for cross-chain computational fees and gas costs? I don't know the answer about this one, about the blockchain, but what I know for sure is that there's a lot of talk about the problem that agents have today, which is they cannot access or have their own bank accounts because financial regulations means that you need to do KYC, and the token is not a person, so it cannot actually pass a KYC process. So that's where it is seen that crypto wallets based on blockchain or other will be actually one way to give the token money so that they can spend without giving them access to bank accounts. Mark Zirka, hello. What is the difference in the quality of output in this particular case? What is the risk? You have to remind me, Mark, later, text me, and then we talk about this because I'm not sure when you asked this. Wani, Pratibha, the session is being recorded, very informative. Thank you, Afak. Thank you, Ziad, for a very practical presentation on the most unglamorous aspect. To catch up, okay. Well, how many?
What is being built in Abu Dhabi is a question. Rosine.
Well, a lot is being built in Abu Dhabi. Rosine, hello, Rosine. It says there's more data centers, as we said, in the region. So it's Stargate, I believe the name of the project, which is a joint venture between the UAE government and OpenAI, because as we said, there's a big bottleneck in data centers, and we need more and more of these. Maybe we play a little bit of the game, and in the meantime, I will also check some questions that came before. If we have time, we will answer them after, because there are questions from the registration. Did everybody scan the link? We have 35 already joined. Who is not there yet? Please join us. I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to play a very fun game. Developed by a friend of mine, actually, that uses also AI in it. And you can scan the code here also, if you can see the slide. We have 35. How many participants do we still have on? 37. I guess everybody is in. 67? Okay, we'll wait a few seconds. Yeah. This is going to be fun. And thank you all for still being here. Okay, I'm going to explain how this works while we will play. This is going to be 10 questions, multiple answer questions. You are going to start, each and every one of you will have 2 credits in your wallet. And these credits, you will use them to bid on the question. So when you see a question, before the question is actually displayed, I will show the context of the question. So it will be the theme of what we are going to ask about. And if you feel confident about the theme, you can put more coins. And if you feel less confident about the theme, you might want to put less. Then the question will come out. You'll see 4 answers. You'll click, and within a few seconds, we will see who got the right answer, which one the right answer, and then those who got the right answer will split the tokens or the credits, and then we play again. All right, so ready? We have 50. I'm going to start. So you all receive 1 credit now before each round anyway. So even if you lose all your credits, you will get 1 credits. And now you will see the context. So the context is how tokens work. So you have 10 seconds to place your bets, ladies and gentlemen, if you feel confident about this. Faites vos jeux. 77 credits in the betting pool. And the question is, if you ask today how many R's are in strawberry, what would be the answer? And the answer today is 3 because it has been fixed. We see everybody is a winner. So, although we do have a few people who did not listen or who listened too much. So let's see the next question. Next question. Round 2. The context is about the economics of token. Place your bets. An English prompt versus Arabic prompt. Which costs the most to process? Time's up. And the non-English version, obviously. We have winners. We have people who got it right. Let's go to the next question. Everybody gets the credit. And the context is about pricing of AI. Place your bets. Very good. Wow. Big pool. Everybody is confident. How much do output tokens cost compared to input tokens? 100 times more, half as much, almost the same, or 2 to 6 times more. And I'm living my dream of hosting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. 2 to 6 times more. Let's see who got this one right. Tak, BK, EB, Sumit. So difficult to guess your names. Next question, number 4. Context is about cost control. Faites vos jeux. Asking the model politely, changing the font, routing between different models is the best way to be cost conscious. Next phase. And you get 1 credit extra. We're going to talk about the economics of agents. Place your bets. Nina in 3rd place, Sumit in 2nd, and Tak in 1st. AI agents run for 7 steps. Why does the price go so high? It plays chess between steps, or it pays a fee per step, or it rereads the conversation. It rereads the entire conversation and every single document that came with it. And now, halfway, we have question number 6, and it talks about the big picture. Are we confident? I see some hesitation. What is the single biggest idea? But this should have been the last question. But since you're having so much fun, we added 4 more questions. Absolutely. Next question, number 7. The credit is coming to you, and the context is API integration. $271 betting pool. Which layer integrates tool like Cursor, Harvey, and Lean? These are the applications that work with the APIs. Question number 8. What's the economic impact? Bets are placed. Huge pool, 360. What do foundation models determine? Difficult one, Rosine, I know. It's the economics, but upstream. Ooh, we have a reshuffling of the leaderboard. This is like football. You never know how it's going to end. Question number 9, and the one before the last, the AI value chain bottleneck. What is the biggest bottleneck that you see in the AI value chain in the map that we discussed? The last few slides, is it in the vendor APIs? Is it the application layer? Is it me, the end user? Or is it the chips and silicon? And we have some new names on the top. And now we get to the last and final question. Final credit has been given away. It's about advanced AI chips manufacturers. If you were paying attention to the last minute, you would know. Be generous. This is it. the last question, the last chance. Which company is the most emphasized in its role of making the advanced AI chips? GCP, Azure, TSMC, or AWS? Lots of letters. And our final answer for the day is TSMC. And we have the winner is Paris, from Paris, in Paris, or the name is Paris. We have Dan and EB, who got 9 answers out of 10 correct. Paris bet the most at 223. And the biggest reaction we got was the fire. But thank you all again for being with us today. I guess we're already 15 minutes over time. If you'd like to hang out, ask more questions, I'm here. Otherwise, you can reach me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram as wirelessly. You can also, let me go to the presentation. You can expect that we will run a half day or full day version of this course, actually, that gives the end-to-end story, probably in September in Dubai, and early also in September in Barcelona. So stay tuned to that. Keep an eye on our LinkedIn. If you would like to scan the QR code now, you can find us on LinkedIn, and we publish a daily roundup of the top 5 plus or minus news of AI in the last 24 hours. You can also follow us on Substack, where we have a very nice newsletter that goes out every Thursday. So today's issue is about to come live after I finish. We talk here about a bit more analysis, what's happening in the world of AI, from the economic perspective, from the geopolitical perspective, from the work perspective. And we have also on X, where you can get the latest news as well. It's here. The Substack, in case you want to register also. You can find us as Tokenando AI everywhere.